All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Sharewise webinar. I decided to introduce myself very quickly. My name's Harry McCaskill, one of the senior advisors here at Sharewise, one of Sydney's share advisory firms. Just wanted to thank Graham for coming on board today and telling us a little bit more about Talius Group and what they do, the potential, I guess, outlook for them moving forward. The structure today, just a little bit more of a presentation on his behalf, and then we've got time for questions at the end. So I'm looking forward to it. Graham, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself. You're one of the managing directors at the company. So yeah, let's hear what you've got.
Thanks very much, Harry, and appreciate the invitation to come along to Sharewise today. And thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for listening in. So, as Harry mentioned, I'm the managing director and CEO of the Talius Group. We are a data analytics company, and what I'm going to present to you today is some information about Talius. I'm going to share with you basically the problem that we're solving, the challenge that's in the sector, the solution. Then I'm going to go through a little bit about the industry and the funding model, and also the future of where we see Talius sitting. And then we'll open up to Q&A through that process. So I'm going to actually share my screen.
Yeah.
I've got a little bit of a presentation that I've put down ready to sort of share it. I will go relatively quickly, and I'm just bringing it up.
Perfect. Yep, I've got that.
You've got that.
If anyone has any issues with audio or anything, just drop a message or a question or something in the chat or Q&A, and we'll address it.
Fantastic. So I'm just going to open up the spotlight there so you can see where I'm moving through. So, okay. So Talius Group, that's our ticker, TAL, and I'm just going to go to the first slide. So starting off with the enormity of the problem, Talius predominantly has developed a data IoT platform, which will make a bit more sense in a second. We're primarily focused on the aged care and healthcare sectors across Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore through APAC. So the enormity of the problem that we're facing as a country is that this is Annika Wells, the Minister for Aged Care. She was actually stating in one of her press conferences is that we currently have around 200,000 beds available in aged care. By 2040, so in the next 16 years, we will require close to 350,000 beds. And this is in despite of the inevitable increase of what we're developing in home care, how we're supporting people stay in home care longer. So that equates to currently 150,000 beds in 16 years, which is 10,000 beds per year on average. The reality, though, is that a DA, a development approval for a residential aged care, takes anywhere from 4 to 6 years. And I wanted to share with you the figures that the department's released is that in 2021, we actually added 860. 2022, we added 1,674 beds. This is the Senator Anne Ruston, the Shadow Minister for Aged Care, is recently as February gave us an update of how we're progressing this year. So from the 1st of June to February, 15 providers opened 16 new facilities, which is great, but we closed 23. This is currently only a net gain of 520 beds for the last 9 months. And we also have a shortfall in the workforce of currently around 6,000 registered nurses. So this bids very gloomy picture for anyone who needs, higher care assistance and needs to go into residential aged care. The compounding factor to this, though, is actually our health system. So in the hospital, so Deloitte and Curtin University just released this report. So it's just, we're sitting here currently. You'll see here the dark blue is showing how many existing beds, and the light blue is showing how many replacement beds. So for example, I know, for example, in Toowoomba, they're building a brand new state-of-the-art hospital, but they're closing the existing hospital. So there's actually no new beds being created. You'll see here, these are the new beds that are created. And with our aging population, which I'm going to share with you in a second, this shows is that Australia needs currently 375 hospital beds every month for the next 15 years to cater for our demand. We're already seeing this in the news. So this is where ambulance ramping is happening, where ambulances are bringing people to hospitals and there's no beds. Secondly, we've got people dying in hallways, and this is the compounding factor of how our whole health system is in crisis. So to share with you the problem, this obviously shows to the next part of the challenge, which is our demand and supply. We currently have obviously an aging population. So 65 plus is currently 4.76 million. In the next 20 years, that's going to double to 7.75 million. 85 plus population. Currently, with 5 times as many, we're going to go to 14 times as many 85 plus. This age group is also going to live longer, and showing us that our expectancy of life will go to the age of 90. Across here is that in our supply, because of this exponential, growth and length of life, we are going to have 1.2 million more people aged 85.
Wow.
And then they're going to live an extra 5 years. So that's going to show that we need to supply as an economy 6 million years of extra care. On top of this, our mass retirement of our aged care nurses is currently 50 years and 4 months. So in the next 15 years, more than half of the workforce is going to retire. And then what workforce do we have to draw on is going to change as well. So currently, we will in 2050 only have 5 working people per retired couple. So I'm trying to share with you is that, aged care is not sexy. But the thing is that I can share with you is that there is a massive issue that's coming for Australia and literally globally. It's a problem across all of it. So we're not going to have enough money. We're not going to have enough staff. And we're not going to have enough beds. So the reality is that what can we do? And it's always resorts to technology. And this is where I'm going to start to share with you the big 5 challenges of aged care. So we all heard about the Royal Commission. So over 11,000 personal complaints that were submitted to the Royal Commission, and they have created some new guidelines and regulatory compliance for the sector. So these were all around ensuring safety and reduction of risk, key legislative requirements, and more reporting. So aged care companies now need to report monthly to the government around their quality of care. Their financial stability has been very poor for a long time, with over 60% of providers already making losses every year. And this is where we're seeing providers starting to close the doors. I've just shared with you the workforce challenges. I would say that we'd be sitting at around 70% of the aged care workforce is first-generation Australians. So through migration, this is how we're actually fulfilling these workforce challenges. Managing risk is really a big part for aged care providers of understanding who has a problem, when they need help, and how they need to be helped. And this is improving the continuity of care, communicating with families. And this obviously then leads into the reputation. So the government's now put in star rating, just like all-star ratings, so providers and family and community can share that. But also this it shows obviously going to be a similar model to what we've done in hotels, is that providers need to show how they're actually delivering high quality care. So with those 5 challenges, we see that data or information is the key challenge to solving all of it. The reality is that you can't improve what you can't measure. And the problem that the aged care sector and the healthcare sector is that the problem is that how we collect it is the issue. And I'd like to sort of point out where we see the problem is actually the villain is that it's in the manual processes. Currently, healthcare and aged care actually do all of their reporting manually by a nurse walking into your hospital room and manually taking your vital signs and writing it onto documentation, or visiting in your retirement village, or visiting your room, or visiting your home. This way of data collection is very inefficient and repetitive, particularly when you're doing it with customers over a long period of time. It's too slow for meaningful intervention. The data capture is usually written, so it's very hard to analyze. It's disruptive, undignified. It's objective and open to opinion. It's very labor intensive, and it's just very low value, high cost. So it's a little bit of the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. So I could give you some analogies is that some of you that will remember your grandfather or your father who actually manually checked the oil and water in the car every time he went for a trip. Now, obviously, humans would inevitably forget to do that, and then we'd have breakdowns and so forth. If we now look forward, I'm sure that virtually no one on this call today would have actually checked their oil and water in their car before they went to work or to school or whatever. So the concept from that is that what does Talius do? And so this is where I'm going to share with you part of the solution. We show providers how they can move from a manual process with technology to an automated response. Right. And this is by using sensors. So these are IoT sensors that autonomously, passively, and privately collect sensor data to present to the care teams. So Talius's aged care evolution and healthcare evolution will be a revolution in the sense of how we move from step one of manually collecting to number two, using sensors to collect and create a proportionate action, to number three, where we can actually predict, and we are currently doing it now. We've partnered with CSIRO, where we're actually predicting health issues before they happen. So the differentiator here is a platform. So Talius is a platform as a service, and we have developed a smart care platform that aggregates all the sensor data. And this is where the crux of it for aged care and healthcare is. So Talius is a cloud-based software platform that we've been developing for a long time and understanding the core issues of what is required. So in aged care, they want a sensor to detect falls, nurse call to call for help, dementia support. 70% of clients in residential aged care have dementia and who can't remember what they've done. Have they been to the toilet? Have they been out of their room? Have they had a shower? So we use sensors to support their care. Social engagement and connection, it's very isolating in home care. And then we also move to falls prevention. How can we stop falls before they happen? Staff rounding and sleep management, laundry management, activities of daily living and care minutes, incontinence, and we've designed a system for the future. So we're working with a number of sensors that are collecting some amazing information from like Dexcom, who's measuring glucose and insulin, to the Apple Watch measuring steps and heart rate, to advanced wearables that are consistently monitoring heart and atrial fibrillation, for example. So once we put Talius in as an application, we can then work with the aged care provider and start it off. And this is a very similar concept, if I could use another analogy, to what's happened with the smartphone. So previous to the smartphone, I used to have a Nokia phone. I used to have a MP3 player. I used to have a digital camera. I used to have a Navman. I used to have a torch, and so forth. That has all been combined into one pane of glass, which is a smartphone. So Talius does the same thing. So we then bring all that sensor data into Talius. We then analyze it and then create a proportionate action. So calling ambulance, nurses, communicating back with residents, and communicating back with family members. Now, how we make money, this is the easiest slide to share with you. Each solution, we're actually device agnostic. So if you want to monitor sleep, we have 3 sleep sensors. If you want to monitor falls, we have 5 falls radars. If you wanted to monitor incontinence, we only have 1 for that. But where we're trying to head to is that the data is the important part. So we actually make margin out of selling the hardware as an initial part. but we actually make recurring revenue out of each data set. Now, the way the data sets work is that predominantly the go-to has been emergency response. So we currently charge very low cost of $1 a week for emergency response. For dementia support, we charge $1 a week. Falls detection, 50 cents a week. Falls prevention is $10 a week. Staff rounding, $2.50 a week. Incontinence, $8 a week. A little bit like medication, as you age, you have 1 medication, 2 medication, 3 medication, 4. Exactly the same thing with sensors. So you need emergency help. You're now at falls risk. You've got incontinence. You actually then have sensors that will support you to stay at home longer and support you in care and support you in the hospital. From here, we then actually visualize this data. And this is our partnership and work with CSIRO, that when you're an aged care provider looking after 5,000 or 10,000 or 50,000 customers, it's very difficult to look at all the dashboard. So what we do is we actually look at the functional index of mobility, meals, toilet, sleep, and hygiene and dressing. We then present that data, autonomously collecting data and then profiling and using predictive alerts. So for an example, we had a client last week who normally goes to the toilet twice in a 24-hour period. They went to the toilet 12 times.
Wow.
They spent a lot longer in bed. They missed their medication and their mobility dropped. We don't know what's wrong, but we highlighted that to the family and care teams to say that this client was a very high falls risk and needs some instant assistance. So what we're trying to do, and it's not being the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff, how do we prevent that client being presented to the emergency department, which helps hospitals, which also helps the client to stay independent longer. So some quick updates that are around our results to give you some upstanding there, and so I can then share with a bit. As I mentioned, we currently are a business to consumer model. We are currently already working with a number of the top 10 providers in Australia. A lot of these brands you will have known, where they actually white label our hardware and white label our software and provide it as a service and on-sell it to their customers. We also have key partnership agreements with Telstra, Vitacall, ADT, and a number of brands throughout APAC that actually sell these solutions directly to consumer as well. We are currently in home care, retirement village, residential aged care, and our solution actually fits perfectly to the new emerging market of hospital in the home. As hospitals need your bed and you've had a hernia operation or a heart bypass, you'll be given a Talius kit, take home, and they will then continue to service and monitor you from your home as a remote bed. Some quick breakdowns of how the funding works in aged care. Due to the taxes we pay as a country, the Australian government has registered 3,300 aged care providers. So that's our clients, and it provides them $50+ billion in funding per year. So disability, home care, nursing home, and retirement. So we have forecasted annually is that our total addressable market is about 1.35 billion. Currently, Talius would have about 1% of that Australian market, let alone what we're looking at globally. We look at around 2.3 million subscribers, and I'll share with you, we currently have around 37,000 subscribers on the Talius platform. So we have a huge opportunity just locally. We don't, to date, are aware of a competitor. We have lots of competitors that sell point solutions. So like I was sharing is that plenty of people are selling phones, plenty of people selling cameras, plenty of people selling navmans, but not many people have combined it into an aggregated platform. So our revenue last year was 12.2 million. So it was a 72% increase on the year before. We, at the end of the year, we're 34,000. We're up to over 37,000 now, which equates to annualized recurring revenue of 1.9. So we're sitting at around 2.3 million now, and we have a strong sales pipeline and laying foundations for further expansion. These are our metrics. So I took over as managing director just before COVID, so really good timing to start a healthcare technology company. But anyway, we did sort of start. We sort of worked through it, and we've had some good growth, subscriptions, good growth, annualized recurring good growth.
Perfect.
Operating cash flow has been up and down. We've had a couple of quarters where we've had negative cash flow just due to inventory settlements at the end of year. We're actually a financial year. We're actually, all of that growth I've shown is all organic. We haven't done any acquisitions, but we are continuing to make some significant investment in the platform as we roll it out. To sort of finish up with some key achievements, we just did a partnership with St John's Ambulance in New Zealand. They're the largest supplier in Asia Pacific, and we secured a contract to supply them with 20,000 plus systems. And we've just delivered the first one of the 2.5. ADT New Zealand, we've just secured a contract for 5,000 systems, and we'll be supplying them their first shipment in August. Keaton, which is a part of the Talius Group, is the largest retirement village provider in Australia. We've just done a rollout for 90 plus of their retirement villages with 14,000 plus systems. As I mentioned, we've reached over 34, hitting 37,000 now. We've just completed a number of large sites for Australian Unity and some extra sites for ACH. And as I mentioned, continuing to make some further investment in the Talius Smart Care platform so we can actually take it global. So that's sort of pretty well a very quick run through of what Talius does and sort of going through the problem, challenge, solution, the industry, and how, where we see the future. Our plan is to use Australia and New Zealand as our test bed. To simplify the technology so it's all plug and play to install for the sensor data. Talius being in the cloud, and then following up with that action layer and the analysis layer. And then to actually use that data to corporatize the reporting so providers can actually, at the click of the button, can actually have that instant information at their fingertips.
Beautiful.
So I thought I might open the Q&A then if there's any questions.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, there's a lot happening by the sounds of it, and I mean, it all sounds excellent, to be honest with you. And obviously, you've got your 10 different sort of issues that you're dealing with, instead of, like you said, there's companies that just focus on one and here, there, and everywhere, and you've got the whole lot. I guess, are there any other issues that you're trying to narrow in on and get other potential streams of revenue? Because like you said, you're charging $1 per week for the emergency one, 50 cents for a couple of others. Are there any other opportunities out there for more revenue streams?
Absolutely, Harry. Is that out of those 37,000 we currently got, most of the, like 90% of them would be at the $5 a month, like that dollar a week mark. In our high care, they go all the way up to $60 a month. So we see is that, as I was mentioning at the start with the problem, that we will have positioned ourselves. It's not a Trojan horse strategy, but it is similar. Is that we, for example, like you would put a modem in your house for your internet to get your emails. You now have got your music, your entertainment, and your other over-the-top services that have all added on to that. And we're now all spending sort of $100 plus in internet, plus all the subscriptions and so forth. So we see ourselves at the 5 going to the 60. There's 1.8. There's one. It will slowly go from there. We also see the opportunity for other verticals of obviously the similar challenges in other industries. So by using IoT sensors coming into a platform with an action layer, there's other opportunities of safety as far as prisons, hospitals, agriculture, retail, for example.
I mean, there's a lot of other areas by the sounds you're exploring or trying to suss out. How easy is it for your clients to input the data? Like, you mentioned a client yesterday or last week went to the bathroom 12 times. Is
Yep.
the client putting that in, or how is that tracked?
Yep. So we use a vibration sensor, and we have a vibration sensor and a movement sensor that actually detects the vibration of the toilet being used.
Wow.
So it's autonomous.
Yep.
Client doesn't have to do anything. One of the key parts of our design of our system is that it's passive.
Yep.
And by meaning passive, it means the client doesn't have to do anything.
Well, that's the whole point of it. That's the
Yep.
Otherwise it's like, well, it's still manual sort of thing. That's why,
Correct.
you know,
Correct.
that's probably the key to it. What are the limitations on that? Is there times where it doesn't register or it doesn't acknowledge something that's gone on throughout the day? And how do you, if so, what's the process of fixing that up and those fine little details?
No, good question. And it has been definitely the formulation of, I suppose, like 10 years of working with sensors to create the reliability and the accuracy.
Yep.
So we have actually as I mentioned, we're device agnostic. So long as we can use any device. So what the important part is what's the data that we need to know.
Yep.
So in a home care example is that we need to know, have they taken their medication? We need to know how well they've slept, they're in home, out of home, and so forth.
If they're, I guess, doing the regular normal activities. If not, well, we can get you in touch with a nurse with a click of a button sort of thing.
So the government is legislating that requirement, Harry, which was going to be a key driver.
Okay, that's awesome.
So the government is saying to you, so if you were like, Harry Care, and you've got 200 customers.
Yep.
And you're being paid money by the government to provide these services. You currently only go to some of these houses for 30 minutes to an hour a week.
Right.
So very difficult for you now to prove that you have oversight of the quality of the care that you need to administer.
Right.
So this sensor data is for a number of reasons. One, to share with the family members that their loved one is okay.
Yep.
Secondly, to provide early insight to the carers to show, well, Harry has missed his medication twice this week.
Yep.
He has missed a shower, and we can see he's not eating and has lost weight. Okay. These are very early indicators that this person will need to move from a package 1 to a higher package, which is higher revenue for the provider. Yep. But it also then shows is that this person may be having early onset dementia and may need some medication and extra support. Now, if we don't intervene at those points, this is where the client very significantly deteriorates, will potentially have a fall, goes to hospital, and this is where we then have that whole bigger challenge.
And the spiral effects.
The spiral effect, exactly.
And I think it sounds like it's for the prevention side of things.
Well, it's the only way we're going to get to stay home longer is obviously communicating and connecting and sharing our data. Yeah. But doing it in a private, passive, and dignified way. Yeah. I would say to Harry though is that what we recommend and what we design in our systems is that the sensors are plug and play. Yeah. Meaning is that like stick them on. We've got the sensors with usually around 2 to 3 year battery life. Okay. The sensors also pair and poll. So meaning is that they will check in and say that they're okay. So the system is very simply plugged in, very simply. We can't have like cabling. Technical labor is very expensive in Australia. Yeah. So one of these kits can start from $350. Yeah. All the way up to a fully fledged to around $2,000.
Right. Okay. Right. Yeah. There's no
which is funded by the government under that funding model.
That's what I was going to ask you something about the government there as well, but that makes sense. There's no questions coming in just yet. I did have another one just regarding, I guess, key factors that makes Talius an investment opportunity and a really good growth opportunity for potential investors moving forward, and I guess, how are you going to position the company to really get that growth you want to see? Subscriptions are increasing. Is it just brand awareness, or what are those key factors you're looking at?
Our key parts is really working with the aged care providers as a partner. Yep. So some of the large partners that we're already working with have anywhere from 60 to 100,000 customers currently.
Yep.
Their current business model is to drive a car to that house,
yep,
and ask that person a lot of questions and then write it down. That's
and,
their current business model.
yeah,
So it's not sustainable. The government's requirements are increasing.
yep,
The family members' requirements are increasing.
yep,
And the government is basically saying, we can't build the hospitals or the aged care. We need people to stay at home longer.
yep. All right. Well, we've just got one coming from. We got Robert. When do you expect, Graham, to see cash flow positive results on a consistent basis?
I believe it will be cash flow positive in the next couple of quarters. I believe from our forecasts and where we're sitting as a business, I feel very confident with what we've already currently sold.
Yep.
That by the end of the year, we will be consistently cash flow positive.
Yep.
And profitable. The reason I'm saying that is that I know that so we've got 37,000 subscriptions already.
Yep.
We've already sold and are supplying another 15 to 20,000 subscriptions already. So we will be at 50,000 subscriptions, right, and we're deploying them now. Yep. That will give us a base recurring revenue that will basically cover our operating costs.
Yep.
So from there, it's all uphill.
Yeah.
So that's all upwards from there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Great question, Robert. I guess when it comes to getting new subscriptions, this is probably something a lot of the viewers are probably wondering or might want to know. Is it about going, I guess, door to door to these different aged care facilities, doing a presentation like this, or is it, you've got a team of salesmen on the phone calling up? Yep. What's the process there? And would you say it's, you're getting a lot of traction? Because you mentioned you've got a big sales pipeline, but there's multiple ways to do that. There's more efficient ways to do that. Yep. Where do you think you guys are in that process? And how many would you say you've got on the job doing the sales side of things? Because to be a successful business, sales is number one, right? The revenue.
Correct. So I've been the only salesperson.
Yep.
As well. So I've been sort of doing both roles.
Yep.
We are now at a stage that we have a number of tier one customers.
Yep.
And we have now just started in the last 3 months recruiting to develop a wider business development and account management. So we've got Queensland, New Zealand, yep, New South Wales, Victoria, and SA currently with business development. So we're going to go from 1 to 5. Yep. In the next 3 to 5 months. To your question, how we do it, it's exactly to your point, Harry. Yes, that's how we do it. Yep. We partner with an aged care provider. Those aged care providers, we then white label the product for them. Yep. So if I could give you, I'll just give you the examples. I wholesale to them for $100. Yep. Which we make a 30% margin on. They then mark it up and we white label it. So they then actually sell the solution. We then wholesale the monitoring and the data services to them, and they can then mark that up as well. Wow. Okay. That makes sense. With that partnership model, they have, for example, one of our partners has around 5,500 carers that are who are trusted advisors. Okay. So if that carer comes to Mrs. McCaskill and says, listen, we're a little bit concerned. We think you need some, aging in place technology to support you to stay here longer. And this will be shared with your family and yep, will give us better insight, and it will be paid by your government funding model. Yeah. And then they then send us the order. We have a warehouse in Brisbane. We stage it. So this is a very similar model to internet. Yep. Like you used to have a computer company that would come out to your house and set it all up. Now it's just pack and place. Yeah, exactly. Okay, perfect. I mean, we've got no more questions coming in. Is there any last things you want to mention to the potential shareholders out there or the shareholders listening? Yeah, probably to share is that we're a micro stock.
Yeah, I think
I did
I
a
saw 23 million market cap.
Yep.
Yep.
So I founded the company. I did a reverse takeover,
Yep.
process where I then became the CEO. We are aware that we need to do a consolidation at some stage of the business, and we've been cleaning up the shell and so forth to position ourselves to significantly grow.
Yep.
My probably saying is that we are positioning ourselves to be at the forefront for the avalanche of challenges that are coming as a business.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like there's major, restrict. You hear about the lack of nurses out there. You hear about the lack of people wanting to be a nurse.
Yep.
And that's going to get worse with an aging population. So
Worse.
it sounds like it's an inevitable process we're going to get to in trying to tackle that problem head on.
I just don't know of any other way to fix it.
Yeah.
I can't see any other way. And so,
Makes sense.
yeah. So that's
Well,
probably where we should leave it then, mate.
100%. That sounds good to me. And hopefully everyone enjoyed, everyone who's watching. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for your time, Graham. And everyone be sure to sort of watch the next webinar. That's going to be recorded, this one. So if you want to sort of go back and double check a few things, it will be on our YouTube channel, Sharewise, as well as our website. So be sure to check that out. Any other webinars we've done. But Graham, I appreciate it. And sounds
Thanks very much, Harry.
sounds excellent.
And thanks, everyone.
See you guys.
Take care. Cheers.